Hey everyone, welcome to the free Get Started Podcasting YouTube course. My name is Robert Garza. You're going to see these videos in front of all the modules, urging you to watch the channel trailer first. That way you have a really good idea of who I am, what the course is all about, when the course was recorded, why I have a scraggly beard in the course versus how it looks now. And if you like the videos, make sure you like the videos. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. And most importantly, let me know in the comments what the name of your podcast is, what podcast I'm helping you start or that you maybe just started and this course is helping you finish. If you have any questions, shoot me a DM on Instagram at RobGTV. If the videos refer to any links for equipment or suggestions for software, they will be in the description as well. Let's have some fun, and I'll see you back here on the channel regularly every week. So now what we're actually going to do in this video is record a podcast, but not a full episode. We're actually going to record the trailer. Trailers are something that became more prevalent in the recent years. Instead of recording a podcast, a full episode, and then submitting it to iTunes, which is basically like the holy grail. Like iTunes is where you submit the initial podcast feed, and then you can distribute it, to Spotify, Stitcher, Google, and all that. And while a lot of you are going to be waiting for your equipment, your microphones and your interfaces and all that, we'll record the trailer in Audacity so you get an idea of how to record within the software if you're going to be using that to start, how to export it, and then how to upload it to iTunes. And in the process, for a lot of you, you'll be able to wait roughly 4 to 6 days on the low end and 7 to 14 days on the high end for it to get approved into the App Store, and then you can start seeing it on the podcast app, and from there, start sharing that RSS feed elsewhere. So before we hop into Audacity, I'm actually going to show you what I consider to be the smoothest folder organization flow you can have. I've been using this since I started podcasting, and you just want to create a folder on your desktop where all your podcast content's going to go. I just named this one the Get Started Podcasting Show. Yours will be, whatever awesome podcast name you have. And what we're going to do is just set up folders for things like your intro beats, iTunes episodes, pictures, raw episodes, raw videos. I labeled this on YouTube because that's usually where your end product is going to go. So whenever you record something in Audacity, if you're using just the computer, for instance, or you're using a Zoom and you have something on an SD card, you're going to have to dump those files somewhere. So those are going to go, obviously, in your raw episodes file. After you've exported things from Audacity and you've finished, your initial trailer we're about to do, or your episodes, they'll always go in your iTunes folder. Just because, that's just the best way to label it. You can label it whatever you want, really, like finished episodes or what have you. But those will go there. Your pictures will be like a cover art, maybe images that you use for your website or your blog that are all pertaining to episodes. Raw video, same thing. If you're recording your video for the podcast because you're going to upload it later on YouTube and Facebook and everything else, just dump your raw files into the raw folder. And then when you export it from DaVinci, Resolve, or iMovie or whatever you use, you can put it in your YouTube or your finished folder. That way, anytime that you have to go back and do something, you always have the raw footage, the raw files to then redo something if you lose it or if you mess it up or what have you. It's always there. And it's super simple, just a couple of folders. And if you need to add anything else, just add it to this one whole podcast folder and then start breaking it down from this level and then inside if you want as well. Now let's move into recording your trailer. Hey everyone, I actually recorded this video after the part that was about to come up, and I did it for a reason. I noticed that this line-in microphone that I'm using within Audacity doesn't sound very good. There's a lot of feedback when this 3.5 millimeter is connected to my particular computer using Audacity. There's a lot of feedback and it doesn't sound good, which is yet another reason why I don't like necessarily recording on your computer, because if you don't really have the best computer with a good sound card or just a decent setup, the microphone's not going to sound good. I will say that a USB microphone would sound better than this particular XLR to a line in. So what I'm going to do is first tell you that, and then second, you're going to go to the part where we're going to dive into Audacity and record the trailer within Audacity with just the computer, a microphone connected to the computer, and no interface, right? And then I'm actually going to record another one on a Zoom H4n, not even the H6, but the H4n, which I have right here, already connected and ready to go. And I'm going to show you the sound difference in having the same type of Behringer, or rather, is this one Behringer? Yeah, no, Audio-Technica microphones connected to an interface and then importing those files into Audacity rather than just using your computer. And I know some of you are going to have to use your computer, and that's fine. I just hope that the USB microphone you choose and the computer that you have to work with gives you enough to record a trailer or a few episodes at first before you can get a good device like a Zoom or a Scarlett. But even then, that would be connected to your computer, and I much rather people have an external device that they can rely on versus having it all on the PC and have a cable not work or a mic not sound good or crashing. So let's just dive into the original part that I had first, which is we're in Audacity. We're using a sound clip and recording an intro on the fly with this same microphone connected to the computer. And then I'm going to paste in using the H4n. All right, everybody, we've made it this far. I know it's probably a lot for those of you that aren't too familiar with the process of audio and podcasting and everything we've covered, but we're almost there. So right now, we're inside of Audacity, and we're going to record a trailer. And again, the reason I'm saying to record a trailer now with Audacity, even though I don't recommend recording directly into Audacity when it comes to your actual podcasts and bigger productions, just because of computers dying and crashing and things going wrong. And not to say that they do often, but when they do, it's the worst feeling in the world as a podcast creator or as any kind of creative creator when you lose something you've been working on really hard. So I always suggest recording into an interface like a Zoom, H4n, or H6, and then just importing your MP3 files into Audacity, editing there, and it's just safe. It's just the safest way to go about it. So, and another reason is that when you record this trailer in Audacity and then upload it to your host, which we'll get into in the next video, you'll have a time of about a week to maybe 2 weeks, depending how things go right now. I mean, considering the way the world's working right now, things are a little slower no matter what you're trying to get accomplished. So if iTunes takes longer to approve your podcast, you'll have time to get in your equipment that you've ordered, whether it's your Zooms or your Roadcasters, your mixers if you're more advanced and decided to go that route. Whatever it is, or your Scarlett 2v2 or 1v1 or whatever, it's just a little buffer to have the podcast actually up and running before you start cranking out big productions, promoting it, and whatever. So we're inside Audacity right now, and there's a few things you're just going to kind of watch the cursor here navigate towards. You can lay this out differently whenever you get, you should have it now, but you can move these bars around and just get it comfortable with it. There's a ton of resources when it comes to Audacity on how to use all the different elements of it, and there's tons of things you can do with it. For music, especially, podcasting is great. And as you notice, I clicked on this little bar right here, and this is just the monitoring bar, so you know your microphone's on. But one of the first ones you're going to want to understand is this one right here, which is the selection tool. The one next to it, which is your envelope tool. You have these scissors over here, which is going to be your cut tool. And then the one that's highlighted right now here is the time shift tool. Now we're going to go individually one by one. First, we're going to record something. So I'm going to do this on the fly. I'm going to pretend this is the intro for this fake podcast that I have in my head for this example, and it can be for whatever you're doing. So what you will do here is make sure that, so first of all, here this MME is just the audio host, and that means how Audacity interacts with your computer, and just leave it as the default MME. Don't have to ever mess with that. Next to it is going to be your recording device. So right now it's registering that I know that this Realtek audio microphone is the one I'm speaking into. I have a bunch of other options here like the webcam I'm using and things that just aren't applicable to this video, but they're here anyway. So whenever you record your microphone or connect your microphone to the computer, you want to make sure that it's highlighted here, whatever the USB or line in that you're using. Find it, make sure it's highlighted so you know you're using it, and then you can always click here to make sure that it's actually monitoring so you know that it's actually correct. The mono stereo, if it's just you recording, don't get too complicated, just record a single mono recording, and then the audio out, just make sure it's the same as what you're recording in. That way your speakers aren't recording or aren't blasting out and you're getting noise into the microphone. So once those settings are set, we're going to hit record. And I'm just going to start going. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Get Started Podcasting Show. This is the trailer for the podcast that we're creating for this example. And I'm doing it on the fly. So make sure you tune in to the Get Started Podcasting Shows to learn how to get your podcast started. I'm going to hit stop on that. And now we have a recording laid down. We have track one. We have the trailer. We have track one for the trailer. That could be it if we really wanted to, but let's just play it back. Record. And I'm just going to start going. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Get Started Podcasting Show. This is the trailer for the podcast that we're creating for this example. Cool. So we've got our audio laid down. It's track one. You saw the playback over here, so you know it sounds good. It's coming out of the speakers. Everything, it's good to go so far. Now, if you wanted to add music to this, let's say you want to have intro music, and that's a part of, if you go back a few videos, to your format and to what you want to do with your podcast. The majority of the people that I interact with and have helped start shows are very straightforward creators. They wanted to start a conversation. They wanted little editing. They didn't want a lot of bells, whistles, and frills to go with it. So it's really easy to describe to them the steps and get them used to and accustomed to the workflow of doing a podcast like that. If your goal is to create something that's a lot more intricate and requires a lot more music, sound effects, ins and outs and cuts and whatever, you can totally do that. And you can find resources that'll help you with all of that, the creative direction. This is going to get your podcast started. This is going to get you really going in the direction of how to get comfortable with recording, starting one, getting everything in line, so that later you can go and learn more about everything you want to learn. This isn't a full in-depth dive on how to mix, master, and render all these different types of elements to podcasting. This is to just get your show that you've been trying to do for weeks, months, or years off the ground. So most, at the very least, like even I have the one that I started with the missus recently, it's just intro music, which we decided to do last minute. The podcast are recording, and then on occasion, some shows will also do an outro or like a summary at the end of it. We don't do that either. We just do the intro music right into our conversation. That's it. So you say goodbye when you're done, hit stop. I import it, and then I just put that together and then export it as an MP3 and upload it to Libsyn, which is our podcast host. For this example, we're going to add some music, and all you would have to do to just add any audio to this is you're going to go to File. You're going to import audio. And then inside of here, you're going to find wherever it is that you have that audio. Okay, so now as you can see, we've uploaded our music. The way I like organizing things is I want things in like a ladder formation. I want it to just descend into the shortest clips. Obviously, the long clip will be the episode, and then your outro if you have one. So if you hold Control and use the scroll wheel on your mouse, you can shrink these tracks. And what I like doing is hitting this little triangle next to the track name and moving the track up. So that's going to be the music. That's going to be the first thing that plays, right? And after the music plays, we're going to bleed into the actual audio. For instance, this is the trailer, or what would be your podcast. And we're going to use the icon that's selected, which is your right here, time shift tool. And this is what lets you move tracks side to side, right? And then you'll see that it'll lock in with this yellow line there. And that's where the tracks lock into place perfectly from that end to this beginning. I'm going to zoom in. And what I'm going to do is what you could do is just use this right here, the selection tool, and you can highlight things that you want to cut, right? So if I wanted to cut that because you can hear the clicking of the stop or any little sound that you don't want in there, you would just highlight that and hit Control X if you wanted to, or you got the scissor tool up here and get rid of that, right? That's your cut tool. Okay, so already you can see the music's really long. It's a long track. And let's just say that we want to use just a little bit of it. So we're going to take our tool right here, our selection tool, and we're going to just highlight. Let's just say here, that sounds like where the breakdown kind of stops and then starts. I'm going to highlight all of this, and we're just going to hit, and maybe we're going to zoom in a little bit, and we're going to take some more of this out. Like say there. It seems like a perfect like descend of music. And we're going to hit Control X, or your cut tool up here, and cut that. We're going to zoom back out. We're going to take our right here time shift tool, and we're going to move this back there. And now we've kind of got our intro music, and we've got the trailer starting right here. And what we want to do too is, if you can always change the gain level, like the actual how loud the music is, by moving it up or down here. Let's just say that we want to move it a little bit like down 10 decibels. And let's just give that a little whirl real quick. So your music's playing, however long you want to make it, and then eventually you're going to have your actual voice, right? The audio that you recorded. In this sense, you probably could have made it shorter too. But just for the sake of the video, it would end right where the lock record and takes place. You'll have your audio come in, right? Obviously, we can make that a lot cleaner, and we're going to do that. So what you want to do is, there's a tool right here that I pointed out at the beginning called your envelope tool. So the envelope tool, as you can see, when you click it, it highlights all the files with this dark gray and this light gray. So if you click anywhere on there, it adds a little keyframe there. And the keyframe is where it's going to start. The effect is going to start. And then wherever you want it to end, let's just say we want it to end here, it's going to add another one. And you can control that entire section between the keyframes That's for the volume of the music, for instance. Let's say that we want to add another one over here, and we want it to go down even further and quieter here. So kind of, it just completely outros really smoothly, right? So let's just use that for an example. And what we're going to do is going to use the move tool here, the time shift tool, to move the track. We're going to start talking about, let's say, right there. And if you click here, you can just actually start the recording right where the cursor is. Record. And I'm just going to start going. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Get Started Podcasting
And there you
show.
go. That's kind of how you
This is the trailer
seamlessly
for,
merge the audio
podcast
and
for
the music and
example,
your vocal
and
audio.
I'm doing it on the fly, so make sure you tune in to the Get Started Podcasting shows to learn how to get your podcast started.
Boom. And that would be that, right? And then you can have an outro if you wanted. You can add more music. Go ahead and start playing with those keyframes whenever you want to get more involved with music and fading and intros and outros. And maybe you want to have stuff playing the entire time you're talking for your trailer or certain segments of your podcast. You can just move these keyframes and learn how they work. If you want to go up and down there, or you want to move this one, start another one somewhere else. Maybe we actually want to start the whole thing there. And then you want to add one here and lower it there and then lower it here. You can actually do a whole lot with these keyframes when it comes to audio, fading and volume. It's pretty cool. So let's just say that, we wanted to do it like that. We want to have it playing the whole time. Just lock it into place there. Let's play it from here. We're going to play the music, and it's going to be loud, full volume until there.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Get Started Podcasting
start
show.
blending. Obviously, it's still too loud. You can just kind of play with that. Pause that there. Go back to the keyframes. Let's lower that way down. We have tons of keyframes because I clicked a bunch of times, but you'll be able to figure that out, the sweet spot for you. Let's see. Let's go like that maybe. See what that sounds like. So it's gonna descend, record.
I'm just going to start going. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the
Still kind of abrupt, but you get the point.
I'm
trying to do it all on the fly. So let's say that was good. That's what we wanted our trailer to be. And that's the majority of what recording anything is going to be like. You just start recording on Audacity. It's going to create a track, and you're just going to start going. I do want to point out, when you're monitoring here, your microphone, you see how it's bouncing around -15, -12, 18, like that sweet spot before it actually starts getting yellow. I don't want to yell into the microphone. But if you do, maybe if I tap it, even if I tap it's not going to register that high. But if you ever get to a point where it's starting to get like yellow and then red, if it's red, it's clipping for sure. The audio is way too loud. It's going to sound distorted, and it's just going to sound nasty. So you just want to play with your microphone volume, whether on your Zoom or on Audacity, just to make sure that you're always in that sweet spot of about -12, just before it's getting yellow, or even if it's a little bit yellow, that's fine. And as you learn Audacity and get more familiar with audio, you'll learn like what the sweet spot is. And then when you play it back, you'll know, well, that's too low or that's too high. It's clipping. And you'll be able to adjust gain on your audio down here, as you can see where the track is on the gain. If that was too low, let's just say it, because it is right now. It's super soft. And I just moved it up 10 decibels.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Get Started Podcasting show.
You can tell
this is the trailer
clipping
for
somewhat,
the podcast that we're
but
creating
not too
for
bad.
this example. And I'm doing it on the fly, so make sure you tune in to the Get Started Podcasting shows to learn how to get your podcast started.
So I would still roll with that. I think that's still fine. It's kind of more advanced to get into filters and adding things into sound later. But for now, that's kind of the gist of what you need to know. That's some music. There's an intro, and another big essential part of all this is just exporting everything, right? So we're going to highlight everything, Control A. We're just going to go to Export, File Export, and we're going to export this as an MP3. A WAV is too big. It's always just been kind of accustomed to just export it as an MP3. It takes up less space on your computer. It's easier to upload to the host. So we're going to export it as an MP3. And as you see here, this is actually the folder, the Get Started Podcasting show that we created earlier. So whatever your podcast folder is, the beats were in here, as you can see. That's where the music was. And then we have your iTunes episodes, which this would be the trailer, right? And what we want to do is just click on iTunes episodes. There was an example in there already. And what we're going to do is we're going to just title this podcast trailer. .mp3 is how you're going to have to save it so that it saves correctly. Save type, file type is right here. It's going to be an MP3, and then you're going to save it as a .mp3. The bit rate is going to be constant, just as default. Quality, some people say you can go as high as 128 for your podcast, but 96 it's just fine. It's totally fine. Unless you have a ton of music. If you have a ton of other music, then you can go to, 112, 128, but 96 is just fine. It's going to force export to mono. You're going to save this, and then you're going to get this metadata tag field box where you can include a bunch of different information about artist name, which would just basically be the title of the podcast. The track title would be that. The artist name would be you or your network or your podcast show or whatever you want to put there. The track title would be the name of the podcast title, like episode 1, the trailer, or if it was episode 5, whatever the name of the podcast is. You can put the year, and honestly, this isn't super important because whenever you get your podcast host, it's going to take care of a lot of the metadata for you. But feel free to add as much here as you want. Really, I would just say artist name could just be you or your show name, the track title, maybe the year, and that's really it. This isn't really too applicable, especially when you're going to have a host. You can hit OK, and it's going to export it, and it's there. Now it's in your iTunes episodes folder. You might get another notification that says you're about to render your 2 tracks into one, something. It's just the first notification you get when you first use Audacity. Just click OK and never show you again if you don't want to. It's totally fine. And now we have recorded, we have laid down some tracks, everybody. We have laid down some music. We have laid down some audio explaining that this is a trailer for the upcoming podcast. And now we are ready to go from folder, the exported MP3 folder of the podcast, and take it into the podcast host. Alrighty, one. So now I'm actually using the H4n to record some audio, so you get a good idea of the difference in sound and quality when you have an external device or an interface and you're just importing the files into Audacity. So on the fly, I'm going to record something here and we're going to add it to and kind of continue the trailer we worked on within Audacity and the microphone connected to the computer. Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying the Get Started Podcasting course. I hope you enjoy the show trailer that we're creating for the podcast within the course on the fly. And now you'll be able to tell a sound difference between the other file and the other recording and having an H4n, not even an H6, it's just the H4n. Enjoy. All right, everyone, we're back in Audacity. Isn't that a drastic difference in sound quality? Like this setup works for instance, these videos that I'm making. The setup works good enough to make decent sound for video, which video is a whole nother piece in itself, just like podcasting, radio, and audio is a whole nother piece in itself. So now we're back into the project that we originally did earlier in this video with the music and the little on-the-fly intro trailer that I did. Now we're just going to import the file that I recorded on the H4n, which would be in the file, import, audio, and then wherever you saved it, I have it in the same folder as the rest of the Get Started Podcasting. And import that, and you're going to notice here, the Zoom records, and most field recorders or recorders record files in stereo. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to take our time shift tool here. I'm going to move it to the end here just so it's on its own and doesn't play along with anything else. And I'm going to hit this arrow down here because if you play it, it's going to be in stereo. So you get a good idea of the difference in sound. So if you can't tell by whatever you're listening on, maybe you're on the computer or maybe you have headphones in, it's only coming out of one side of the headphone or of the speakers. So what I want to do is I want to hit this little drop down arrow next to the title name of the track right here. And I want to split stereo to mono. So now it would come out evenly. Casting show, this is the trailer for the 2 lines here are moving instead of just one. So it's coming out of both speakers, both headphones. And you can just actually delete the other file, the other track, because there's nothing on that track. If I would have had 2 microphones hooked up to the Zoom at the same time, it would have recorded left and right. And then it would have just been even. So now we have this amazing clear sounding audio from the H4n. And quality, would you have an external device podcasting course? I hope you enjoy the show trailer that we're... So let's go through here and I'm going to actually remove most of the beginning with our selection tool here and just find the part that would seem like would be the trailer where I started at. So let's zoom in a bit here. Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying the Get... That was pretty close. So we're gonna delete that. Remember, you can use the scissor tool up here, which is a cut tool, or you can do Control X. And zoom back out, come over here. And was that right? Hey everyone, I hope... All right, so what we want to do now is, honestly, we can just delete this track, which hear the difference. We're creating for this example, and I'm doing it on the fly, so make sure you tune in to the Get Starting Podcast on the fly. And now you'll be able to tell a sound difference. There's a drastic difference in the quality of the audio. So let's just get rid of this audio track. We don't like it. It's the original one. It's not as good, but it'll do if that's what you have at home. No worries. Let's line that up. And just kind of start from the beginning. Another thing I want to show you, I'm actually going to re-import this music and have the original music file and show you something different. Instead of using the envelope tool here to put the keyframes and then minus and fade out the music, this is actually, and I remember this last minute, this is what I used to do when I first started fading in and out music on earlier podcasts and earlier projects. So let's X out of this. Let's import some audio. Okay, it took me a minute, but I found the file that I had put it in. Now we're just going to go ahead and move this up because I like to have it in the order where that's going to be, music, intro, podcast, outro. And we're going to select some of the stuff that we don't necessarily want. Like that. That looks about right. Oop, got to re-highlight it. So we're going to cut that out. We're going to move this with the selection tool. And instead of using the envelope tool, what I'm going to do is actually highlight, this amount, whatever amount you think is appropriate. And then we're going to go to Effect, and we're just going to simply go to Fade Out. You could do Fade In if it's the other way, but you can just go to Fade Out. And now look how it's just going to fade the music out slowly. For a lot of people, that's just a simpler way to do it than using the envelope tool.
Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying the Get Started Podcasting course.
And then what you could also do is go back to Effect, and it'll even be at the top, whatever effect you use. Repeat fade out, or you can just go to fade out, and it fades it out even further. So what we could do is move the audio in a little bit, so we start talking while there's still some music playing. We can actually raise the gain of the audio to let's say 7 or so, and play it.
Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying the Get Started Podcasting course. I hope you enjoy the show.
And that's another way of doing fades for audio or for music. I actually tend to like that way better than using the envelope tool, but some projects, require different keyframes and maybe you want to adjust way more specifically. This is just an easier way to do it. And then that's a way to import an audio file from something like an H4n or any kind of external device and then edit it within your Audacity program rather than recording it in Audacity. And as you can tell, the quality of this from some other device is going to be way better than just recording it on the computer, unless you have a really good computer or a good to decent computer and a really, really good to decent microphone that has the proper connection, like a good USB, and you'll be all set to go. So this now wraps up how to record your podcast trailer, and now we can move on to the hosts and directories and all kinds of other good stuff. Enjoy.